Thanks for joining us. In Talking Point, you are receiving a civil society actor, a Muslim scholar of the Christian Bible, Abdul Karim Ali. You're welcome.
Thanks for having me, Babylon.
You were arrested and detained recently. Can you share your story?
Let me begin by praising God, and I ask Him to send His blessings upon His prophet and righteous people and to all the televiewers this evening. Would you call it arrest? Let's say abducted. I didn't see a warrant of arrest, neither was there a warrant of what they call the search. However, to be fair and honest to the officers who took me, they were respectful, no molestation whatsoever. So I till today, I don't know why I was arrested. They didn't tell me, they didn't take a statement, and so on. But there were speculations that probably because of the outings I make based on invitations like yours and so on, and that I use the word Southern Cameroons. And so just to make it brief, if that is it, then I'm unapologetic and unequivocal on this matter. I have the total and complete right to say Southern Cameroon. Why don't I have the right to say Southern Cameroon if someone else has the right to say La République du Cameroon? La République du Cameroon and Southern Cameroons made up Federal Republic of Cameroon in 1961.
It should be noted that anyway, right now we are talking about former Southern Cameroons and former La République. But they are in our history books, of course.
No, there's no former La République. From Federal Republic of Cameroon to United Republic of Cameroon under dubious methods in 1972, and then comes again in 1984 La République du Cameroon. So what moral right does anyone have to tell me not to call it Southern Cameroon? I don't see the debate coming forth, and I challenge anyone to tell me why I should not call it Southern Cameroon if he has the right to call it La République du Cameroon.
Where were you detained and in what conditions?
Well, after Juma prayer, that's Friday prayer, I decided to stay back at Old Town to commune with other scholars and, of course, Muslim family. Then after the 3:30 prayer, on my way back home, they intercepted me. Well, like I said politely, I have to be fair on this, and then took me to their station where there was no interrogation. And I had a conversation with some inspectors, by the way, not an interrogation. They asked me a lot of things which I'm sure they were schooled. They didn't know the history of this country, and I'm sure they were taught on that day, and I hope the learning continues.
All right. You were arrested within a particular context, notably linked to the Anglophone crisis, and as you indicated earlier, your arrest had to do with your comments, your statements with regards to the deepening situation in the northwest and in the southwest regions of the country. And we have the most recent outings coming from the U.S., the United States, and the Bishop of the Bamenda Ecclesiastical Province talking about decrying the deepening situation in the regions, but the government has continued saying that the situation is under control. You are from the northwest region, you're on the ground. What's the situation?
Did you say the government said it's under control?
It's under control.
That is a lie. Nothing is under control. Come on, Babila. Just today I got feet. Many are dying in Menchum and elsewhere. Come on, we cannot sleep in Bamenda, or I'm sure also in Boya, without hearing the sound of guns. People are missing every day. People are getting arrested every day. People are getting locked up for things they don't know. You just read on the news that a peace journalist marching for peace was arrested under the instructions of Ekema. How can anybody claim that anything is under control? Nothing is under control. That's a lie.
Nothing is under control. The situation has continued moving from bad to worse, and now there is a peace initiative led by some members of Parliament, and they have created what is today known as the Northwest and Southwest Peace Commission. What's your take on that initiative of peace?
You know, I think that the only thing worse than a liar is a liar who is a hypocrite. These are hypocrites. Honorable Weber came out in 2016 and called the entire country in a house called the House of Assembly to pay attention to burning things that are happening in the Southern Cameroons. All of these guys, these so-called people who are forming a peace conference today, did not even back him for a minute. They didn't even congratulate him. None of them. Why? Because they have their interest. You know, the politicians have gone too corrupt and too bad that the 2% are even doubted. Well, what they should know is that there is nothing called peace without justice. And if they understand that concept, if they have any decree or an iota of decency left in them, they should know that the only committee which is desired or could be desired to be created, if at all, is a justice committee. And if you create such a committee as justice committee, the message is not going to go anywhere. You have to take it to Yaoundé. the message of justice should be taken to Yaoundé. That is where it should be preached. That is where it should start, and that is where it should end. These are hypocrites, and the only information I have for them that I can tell them is that they should know that the more they keep doing all this, the more we dig history. And the more we dig history, the darker history gets for the oppressor.
But we are talking about peace, and everybody wants a return to normalcy. And according to a member of that commission, the main objective is to bring about a ceasefire, is to get to a ceasefire, everybody dropping down their guns, both parties, so that peace talks can begin.
All right, if they have such power, they should tell the person who declared war to stop the war. That is where they should start to begin with. And then secondly, these guys have no interest of the layman like you and I or anyone else, Mr. Babila. This is the honest truth. What they want in disguise is normalcy for their day-to-day activity that they used to have over the poor masses. They don't really mean peace. They mean let things come back normal. For who? For us. You see, most of them can't even go back to their villages. And I challenge them, please, they should take the Peace Commission to their villages and start there. They have created, through this hypocrisy, a very difficult period for all of us. You know, the freedom of speech goes to the strong. But when the weak, like you and me, speak, it is hate speech. Terrorism is the violence of the weak, like war is the violence of the strong. This is what they're using. But I say, look, they are not dealing with 18th century or 19th century or even 20th century people. This is a 21st century people. They have to be careful, and they should be just. And I see a lot of articles they write and include words from the Bible. These are people who have not read a complete book in the Bible. I challenge them to any debate on that subject. They don't know what they're doing, and they should quit using God's name to bring such a falsehood. But the Quran says in chapter 17, verse number 81, Jahak wazak al-batil, innal batil kana zahuka. Truth has come and falsehood will perish. For by its nature, falsehood is bound to perish.
Earlier you were talking about a justice commission. Is that the way out of the crisis?
This is the only way out. There must be justice. And to go to justice, you need to go to the root cause. I'm not talking about the cause of the outbreak of what they call Anglophone problem in 2016. I'm talking about the root cause of this whole issue, which dates back far back as maybe 1959, 1960, 1961, 72, 84. You have to go back there, address these issues, without which is a child's play. Mr. Babila, we are not talking about some strike, some protest. We're talking about 5,000 people dead, more than 50,000 in the refugee camps, more than 500,000 displaced internally, thousands in exile. This is what we are dealing with. We're not dealing with a protest on the street. We're not dealing with salary protests. We're dealing with life and a statehood.
All right. Besides the Anglophone crisis, another issue, maybe it's not reached the level of a crisis, but it's a major problem that is eating deep into the marrows of the country and even destroying the economy of the country. I'm talking about corruption, and there is a full government now in prison with the recent case of former Minister Mbengo, who is in jail now in detention with his wife after the embezzlement of over 196 billion francs CFA. When you look at these figures and these guys who have been arrested and detained, what do you think about the state of corruption in Cameroon today?
Yeah, you know, I'll draw a line between corruption and embezzlement. When you look at corruption, you see it. This is France. That is what you get from romancing with France. When you romance with France, you get a corrupt system. This is a system that arrests people arbitrarily, take people from Nigeria here. You can see the corruption. That is corruption, misuse of power. You can see it playing. And then, of course, embezzlement, which is stealing state property. This, to me, is a non-event. The only thing that catches my attention to it is because I know that more than 60%, some sources say 63, 64, therefore I say more than 60% of the GDP of this country come from the southern Cameroon. So I can imagine already, by and large, a lot of this money comes from. How does somebody get to steal 100 billion, Mr. Babila? It's not today. And tell me which government in the world has ministers in the prisons and every day yet corruption continues. Why? Because the system is bad. If your methodology is wrong, your result is going to be wrong. But it is their business. They should deal with it. They should really deal with it. We are dealing with people that are dying. We are not dealing with thieves. That is stealing. The right word for it is stealing, not embezzlement.
All right, before we go, we recently wrote an open letter to the Minister of Territorial Administration on the wrong uses of the Quran.
Well, one message for him: he doesn't have the right, the moral standing to go close to a Quran. I wrote to him politely. We are expecting him to apologize. He should apologize for using a weak, ignorant few to blaspheme. And if he does not, the Creator would humiliate him himself. And for the ignorant Muslims, these are the main problems of Islam. The ignorant Muslims who in the first place will put themselves in that position, may God forgive them and forgive all of us.